Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Unscripted, with your host Mikey.
And Danny,
Yeah. Some interesting topics that we wanted to discuss today include go ahead.
I guess it's really like financial preparedness.
Yeah.
Um, well, I mean, part of it is financial preparedness, but part of it is designing the life
Mhm.
that you would actually want.
Yeah,
And I think that target sort of changes as one sort of moves through life and ages and, you know, matures as a person and their interests and focus may shift
hmm,
from one decade to the next.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, and maybe like how to change with the seasons of one's life.
exactly. And I think this is a very poignant and also relevant discussion because I had just finished filing taxes for my parents. So yay, that's
Oh wow, that's exciting.
But it also got me thinking a lot because it reminded me like, oh, like estate planning, beneficiary designation. Like if I die before my parents, I should probably put both of their names on or name both of them as beneficiaries on my bank account. All of this stuff is, as tax season comes along, you start thinking about, okay, the only two constants in life are death and taxes. But then it's also like, what happens if the child dies before the parents and vice versa, right? And what supports are
Mm,
necessary and available in that case. So I think,
yeah, damn.
yeah, the first thing is estate planning. That was pretty interesting. Yeah. Secondly, yeah, it's also about, yeah, what kind of life do you want to live? How do you want to design it? And then also, how do you protect yourself in case things go wrong? So all of these are
Hmm.
relevant points of contention and discussion. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I guess Danny, what steps have you taken toward uncertainty or like
I
protecting
mean, I
yourself
think,
from uncertainty?
yeah, I think, like wellness, I think of like, some key pillars like your physical health,
Hmm.
emotional wellness, and financial health.
Hmm.
And, there's some other elements like, your environment, like your connection to community.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know, maybe there's like a spiritual element in there as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think physical health is just like, continuing to maintain like a good baseline and monitoring your health so that, you're able to um introduce change into your life and not for it to create a lot of like major health issues. I think that's
Uh,
important.
no.
And I think all of these like points are like very deeply interconnected. Like financial health, definitely is important.
Right.
Um, change, I think, particularly in area of career requires, maybe weathering some periods of financial instability and having, I think, a strong financial like base, a foundation is really,
Hmm.
key to sort of avoiding the challenges that come with financial instability.
Right.
And then emotional health, building mental resilience. Yeah, I mean, that's tough. I mean, being able to accept and be able to roll with the punches in terms of like change in life, I think is also a key part of it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think these are kind of the key elements that I think about. Um,
Hmm.
and we talked a lot about financial planning, what
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
the 4% rule and all that.
Yeah.
Or I guess the 3% rule if you're kind of a
Conservative,
fire.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're sort of looking to do fire and like do
Hmm.
the RE
Yeah. Yeah.
piece of fire.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I mean I think that's like also a key consideration.
Yeah. And I think I also like to throw out there that fire is honestly just a plan, right? At the end of the day, in case things do go well and as expected. That's all that it is.
Mhm.
Um, and I think a concept that has been incredibly secure, or that brings me a bit of mental ease, so to speak, is the concept of coast fire, where if you hit like a certain number in net worth, like you can basically just consume all the income that you're making as long as you're not depleting into your investment reserves, and that can basically you'll be fine by the time that you expect to retire. Um,
Yeah. Do you have any like handy calculations for Coast-Fi? Like,
yeah, there are online calculators. You just look up coast fire calculator.
mm,
And that's pretty much, yeah, Wallet Burst has a great one. But the amount that you would need to save and invest changes largely depending on your expectations and the assumptions that you input. And it's great that they have they allow you to adjust the growth rate, your expected safe withdrawal rate, which will arguably also increase the amount that you need in order to hit like quote unquote coast fire.
mhm.
But once you're already there, it's kind of just like, well, you can still work, right? You can't retire yet per se, but like
Yeah.
you don't have to contribute more to your retirement accounts or investment accounts, if you, right, like plan to retire by XYZ age. And that frees up, I guess, like, it's like, it kind of gives you an excuse to live paycheck to paycheck, but it's like your investments kind of protect you, right? Uh,
Yeah.
in the case of like old age and a long life, which, is part of being human. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, there's
Yeah.
different ways
And
to.
yeah, and you can also opt to have a little bit more like freedom in terms of choosing a
Mhm.
path that um or choosing a career maybe that doesn't pay as much as you know your
Yeah,
previous jobs once you hit that number.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, people also talk about like slow-fi, which is just
Yeah.
like kind of maybe
Mhm.
between coast-fi
Mhm.
and um
Yeah,
like prop having a proper like hustle,
for sure. Yeah.
having a proper like high-paying career,
Hmm.
or maybe you take a more like a low-paying career, or you choose a career that has your like allows you to work part-time
Hmm.
and you're sort of getting to financial independence, but it's at a slower pace than otherwise,
Yeah.
like working full time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, now that I talk about it, I remember this podcast where this person, she I think was a nurse,
Hmm.
and her partner was like a veterinarian, and they both work part time,
Hmm. Mm.
or they both had the ability to work part time.
Right.
One of them might be working full time,
Hmm.
but yeah, that's also an interesting thing to consider. Part-time jobs, I don't know, I'm surprised there's not more opportunity for part-time roles. I mean, I
Mm.
can understand why for certain industries, but I
Mhm.
think in healthcare, it's interesting that those exist.
Yeah.
For like high-paying jobs, like for example, like nurses are paid quite a lot, but
Hmm.
they have the ability to work part-time, which I think is a great
Yeah.
benefit. Yeah.
Right. No, for sure. But I think it's interesting because all of this ties into the discussion of like how do you actually want to live, right? Like
Mm.
fire and financial independence is just like one dimension of the whole picture.
Yeah.
And if you look at it more holistically, I think the bigger question is like, how do you want to design your life? How do you want to live? I feel like designing your life, for a certain while, it can be fun to think about, but it can also become kind of a cliche. But I think the main essence is like, what's important to you? What do you value? And what's different between the life you're living now and the life that you imagine when you are quote unquote independent? And is there anything you can bring?
Yeah.
So
I
from
often wonder, like, how do people decide, like, where they, like, because I haven't done that myself. It's like, once you
Mhm.
hit, like, in the future, like, how do you decide, if you want to change um, the place that you live? Like, how do you choose the
Yeah.
best city for yourself or the best, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to, like, for me, I would love to be able to, like, move to different cities and try living there for, like, a period of time. But I also feel like it's just, like, so impractical. I mean,
No, absolutely. I would say
yeah,
like I mean, I'm speaking from the position of luckily, like I do have a remote job where I do get to choose like the flexibility of living, I guess like wherever I want, but like I am choosing to live at home and that's cool, right? And
Yeah.
I have the option. I think just having the option to or the flexibility to be able to live anywhere, but without like you needing to exercise or being obligated to exercise that option is great in itself.
Oh yeah, I mean, having a remote job is great. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
those are like
Right.
almost sort of non-existent these days. I mean,
Right.
there's some still exist, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So, but I do think that, it does take certain incentives, not just financial, but like community incentives and circumstance, honestly, that kind of can push you in, different directions, and challenge you to try out new
yeah.
things. And it's not, part of it is, in your control, and another part of it is due to luck and circumstance. So I think it's,
Hmm.
yeah,
For sure. For sure.
not black and white. It's a gray area.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's good. It's great to I think it's great that you have the option to choose. And I mean, do you want to kind of try living in different cities and seeing what it's like?
Yeah, I think, well, so this particular position has offices, or it's based in San Francisco, and I'm on
Hmm.
the East Coast right now, so it'll be exciting to see what it's like on the other coast. And that is kind of a little bit of an experiment to try out what it's like living in the city where I guess like the employment is at, even
Yeah.
though I'm not necessarily obligated to be there. So I think the fact that, right, like in my head, I do have the choice of being able to decide where I want to live.
Hmm.
It's nice because I do feel like there is autonomy and there is, right, the sense of I am in control. And I feel like what a lot of people lack, due to circumstance and opportunity at the same time, is the inability to have agency over certain decisions they make within their career as well as outside of their career. And it's, right, there are some choices that you are allowed to make, like career-wise, but like within the scope of the career, you might not have as much flexibility. And I think that
Yeah.
is a sliding scale with everything. But I think just, yeah, uncovering what your options are and figuring that out is really important. And obviously it's a lot easier said than done. But
Wait, I'm curious to ask you, when it comes to like living in different cities, would you ever consider living in like South America for a little bit or like
yeah, I feel like
no.
I did try
Yeah, like
living in Japan for like a little bit, so that was fun.
but like right, but like with your current job, because like I mean, I feel like living in Japan would be difficult because you need to work normal hours, like
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
like east or not East Coast, but like
Exactly.
Western Hemisphere hours or however you want to define it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that would be difficult, but
Mhm.
like I heard like there's a lot of interesting expat cities in South America to consider. I
Yeah.
wonder if it's I don't know if it's something that you're kind of curious about or interested in.
Yeah, I would, I think, be more interested in it if I found people who are just as curious or as interested in moving there,
Yeah.
because I feel like I would not want to do it by myself. And I feel like that is the biggest thing holding me back personally.
Mm,
Uh, but yeah, if there is someone in my personal network who has a strong incentive or desire to move
yeah.
to such a city, and if circumstances so happen to align, or if not just circumstances, but if I have the negotiating power to even make that possible, then why not?
Mm,
But
I see.
the stars have not necessarily aligned yet, nor do I have a strong desire yet to really, really push that forward at this particular era in my life. But
I
I'm
see.
not discounting that as a possibility. So,
Yeah, I see. I
yeah.
mean, I guess I'm curious because like, a lot of these cities they have lower cost of living and it could be an
Yeah.
interesting
Hmm.
option to consider.
Yeah.
But
I
Yeah.
think the common struggle with a lot of expats is, they end up feeling lonely because they don't really like know anyone there. Or they kind of
Mm.
like decided to go on this journey alone, or
Yeah.
maybe these are just like my own internalized fears, but I'm sure that there's a lot of expats who, feel kind of disconnected from the place that they're moving to because they only hang out around other expats without putting in the effort to learn the language and really invest in the culture and the community that is like, there
Mm.
where they're moving to. And it's almost like
Yeah.
transactional. And I feel like that kind of relationship is hard to navigate, I think. And there's a lot of nuance. And intention and care that comes with that too, where it's like how
Yeah.
much do you want to invest in learning the culture that you in the country that you're moving to, as well as the language, as well as right, like how much do you care about the place that you're moving to? And I think that's really important
Yeah.
as well to consider. In
Yeah.
addition to who is going with you and who are you going to be surrounded with.
I
Um,
think it's like, yeah, I mean, I think it's good to have little like experiments, like just kind of living in different places to just like figure out like, is this a place that you really want to live? Or,
yeah, yeah,
the cons outweigh the pros effectively.
mhm, right.
Um, yeah, and I think that that in and of itself is like a real luxury. And
Mhm.
not just like an expat cities, really just like any different city in the US.
Yeah. Are there
So
cities in particular that you were curious to live in, if you weren't constrained by, I don't know, in-person employment or I don't know,
yeah.
if you had a different work structure, like how would you
I
design it?
mean, it's hard for me to say because like I just haven't traveled too much.
Mm.
But for example, I heard like Medellin is a really great expat city.
Hmm.
I heard Mexico City is also pretty interesting. My
Hmm.
friend lives there
Yeah.
with her fiance.
Hmm.
They have a startup. So, and then like abroad, I mean, I heard like Bangkok is like a good city, and what's the other one that's like north of Bangkok?
Phuket? Wait, Phuket? I don't know. I
No.
don't remember.
No, it's the other city
Oh,
in
Chiang
Thailand.
Mai?
It's what? What was that?
Chiang Mai in
Oh
Thailand.
yeah, Chiang Mai. Chiang
Yeah.
Mai.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's also a great city.
Yeah.
I also heard a lot of cities in China are really
Oh
um
yeah. China's like
but
a great option apparently for,
I
certain.
don't know. I mean the like if you even work in China for a US company, they go abroad. I'm sure it's there.
Yeah.
Um
Um,
yeah, what else? Yeah, I mean, well, Japan, I think Japan is like
yeah.
not looking as a great candidate in the future because they're experiencing inflation and
Yeah.
increased cost of living
Which
challenges.
again speaks to how fast the world is changing, right? Given a lot of foreign policy and whatnot. So any of the predictions or like expectations that we have about the standard of living in certain countries like may
Mhm.
hold true today, but there's no guarantee that that will be the case in 5, 10 years. And that could, right, be even
Yeah,
more of an incentive to move ASAP to experience it while the conditions are still good,
yeah,
while there is still, productivity. For instance, even Venice before it's flooded, or I don't know, like,
yeah.
yeah, there's,
Venice may not be a great flex.
yeah,
Might be a little expensive living there.
yeah,
Um,
but
yeah. No, I mean, but I think like honestly, if you're in Fat Fire,
mhm,
I don't know. I probably would like consider like Seattle. I want to try
mhm,
living there for a little bit.
mhm,
I would love to like try living in the West Coast for a little bit, like San
yeah,
Diego, Los Angeles,
for sure.
maybe
San
San Fran.
Diego is beautiful. The only thing is, I noticed that there isn't that much nightlife. Or maybe it was just this particular areas that I went to, but I just remember it was pretty dead. Like, um,
Yeah,
yeah. But if nightlife isn't something you value, then maybe that, right, isn't
not something I value. Yeah,
exactly. So,
yeah. So
yeah,
maybe nice. I liked it. It was yeah. The weather was always nice.
yeah.
It was like very empty. I checked out what's the part of the city that's like north of San Diego? It's like
La Jolla
very
or no?
beautiful. Yeah, La Jolla.
Yeah.
I love that part. It's so beautiful.
I don't know if this is maybe we're like referencing completely wrong locations, but anyway,
Wait,
yeah.
what? What was
Uh,
it? I
La
think
Jolla is like I think a beach or slash. Let me double check.
I
Google
feel
Maps.
like it's a region that's like I forget the name of it. It had like San Diego University,
Uh,
University of San Diego.
La Jolla.
The library was beautiful.
It is a region, right? Right? Right?
The campus was like super empty. But I did go in the summer when everyone was on vacation.
Oh, were you
And it's
thinking
just
of La Jolla Heights National Park? There's a lot of different parks in
yeah,
Diego,
yeah.
but
Well, the place where the university was, where the Scripps Institute was.
mm-mm.
Yeah, a Great Lakes seafood,
Mm-mm.
which is important to me.
Yeah, true.
Weirdly enough, New York doesn't have any like great seafood. I feel like, um,
Or you pay an ex yeah, an inordinate amount of money just to pay for decent seafood.
because you would think there'd be seafood here,
Yeah,
but I don't know. The quality is not great.
yeah. I would say
I
Rhode
guess.
Island has really good seafood,
Okay,
as
okay,
well as Boston. So,
okay.
and
What are we
Maine.
talking about here? Crabs and clams and
Yeah, little
oysters?
necks, oysters, lobsters, crabs. Yeah, shrimp. What else?
Yeah.
Oh, sea urchin
Are there
is
shrimp
really
here?
great.
Are there sea urchin here?
In Maine, there's a lot
Oh,
of sea urchin in Maine.
oh, interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah. Eat locally, but also, local produce and seafood is specific to where you are.
Yeah, because like I love like the bigger crabs. I feel like the only crabs here are the blue crabs, which I mean they're okay, but they're just kind of like, small.
Right.
And like the bigger crabs, they're all from the Pacific.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Anyways, someone
anyway,
needs to farm them here. There's a market opportunity.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
So
yeah.
San Diego, Seattle, where
Los
else?
Angeles.
Los Angeles. Okay. You don't care about traffic and driving and a lack of decent public transit.
I mean, I feel like if I were fire, I'd find a neighborhood where like all the amenities are like in
Already
pretty
there.
like close. Yeah, like
Mm,
because like yeah, I don't know. I mean, work is, finding like that's also one of the challenges, like finding a place that's like convenient in terms of like I mean for me, I just need a grocery store, I guess, if I didn't have to work.
yeah.
Like because what else I guess would you need,
Hmm.
Maybe like nice restaurants.
Yeah. Maybe you would like Irvine. I don't know. I feel like, yeah,
Where is Irvine? Hold on, I'm bad at geography.
it's south of Los Angeles, and east of North Beach or Long Beach, sorry. Yeah.
Irvine.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like the photos. I mean, it looks very peaceful, tranquil.
Hmm.
It's kind of like, is it suburban?
Yeah. It's pretty suburban, I
Okay,
would say.
I
Uh,
see. I see.
yeah. I've had a lot of friends from there. Granted, I've only been to that area once, but it's apparently a great place to not, well, kind of retire, but also to just kind of raise a family, live life. It's a very slow-paced kind of like style of living, as
Oh,
is
good.
typical with the West Coast. I feel like,
Yeah.
yeah, growing up on the East Coast, like the culture was more or less frenetic, um, and fast-paced.
Even in little Rhode Island.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah. But it's not like what I notice is that it's not necessarily like I don't know, specific to like the suburbs or like it's more of a general East Coast kind of mindset toward, yeah,
Interesting.
or like
I
the
don't know. I
valley.
mean, it depends on the person. I feel like some communities are very chill.
That's true. There
Yeah,
are.
I think it depends. I think it depends.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, because I feel like LA also has that kind of like hustle energy because it's
Mhm.
like everyone wants to sort of, but it's more focused on like entertainment and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know that kind of industry.
for sure.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm just taking a moment to appreciate like how sprawling Los Angeles is. It's like
Hmm.
very, very large and massive.
Yeah.
But I did like it when when I was there. The weather was really nice,
Hmm.
all the time. It was warm. It was
Yeah.
like really hot actually.
Yeah.
It was very dry.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. It's fun. I
Yeah,
wanted to more exploring. I didn't even get to see the Chinatown of Los Angeles. It's a
yeah,
fun place to go for food.
for sure, for sure. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a great principle to have in which you kind of move to a place that aligns with your values and your lifestyle. And
Yes.
I'm sure that exists everywhere, but in some areas it's harder to find than others. So,
What is now I'm curious. What is the annual cost of living for Los Angeles for a single person?
mm, it's definitely less than New York City for sure. Um,
It ranges from 50 to over 100,000. That's kind of intense.
yeah.
Common average estimate for SM2. What's the median? This
Mm,
is Gemini, by the way.
mm,
Yeah. What is the median?
mm,
Housing and utilities is 24 to 36,000. I mean, that's kind of fair.
mm,
Food and groceries is 47,000. Transportation is 8 to 10. Guess I'm walking. Healthcare is 3 to 5.
mhm.
A
Okay.
living wage is 60,000.
Hmm.
And comfortable living is 70 to 100,000.
Mm.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean that's like $2 to $3 million
Yeah.
in investments right there from if assuming a 3%
But
withdrawal rate.
again, 2, 3 million retirement financial independence assumes that you're not doing anything that is producing income. And
It's true.
that's like at the bare minimum of like you just like existing without doing a single thing.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
right. I don't know.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there are arguments where you actually need a lot less if you do plan to not necessarily work part-time, but if what you're doing already aligns with what your interests and it also produces like income as well, then maybe, right, like you don't need as much capital gains to cover your basic
Hmm.
living expenses if, right? So it's kind of like, are you just doing something that is aligned? And if it is aligned and it's not fully financially feasible, do you have other supports that can help with that? And it's like,
Yeah.
how can you engineer it in such a way where, right, like back to the initial topic, which is like low stress wealth. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean that's easier said than done. I
Right.
mean, you know, tricky.
Hmm. But not impossible because
Not impossible.
that's the reason why we're having these conversations in the first place.
I know. It's just like it takes a while. It takes a while to get to that place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah.
All right.
It's the boring middle is always is the place of struggle for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
yeah. Anyways,
Anyway.
I'm kind of like curious now for like the next it's like I'm like thinking about like that saying of like, if you can't find what you're looking for, maybe build your own. And I'm like curious to also have a podcast episode with you on like entrepreneurship and like building your own company and stuff like that.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
That would be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'll add it to the list.
Sure.
But but anyways,
Yeah.
no, it's good.
Hmm.
Um, have you ever asked, well, yeah, you're not much user of like chat stuff, but yeah, because I always ask like what's the best city for me based on like my sort of interests and personality.
Yeah.
I do get like stuff on the West Coast, like San Diego, maybe
Mhm.
check out Seattle, maybe also check out Vancouver.
Yeah. I mean, there are direct
Um,
limitations, right, to the information that AI can offer you, and it's information and media at the end of the day. It's not a tactile, experiential thing where you're not necessarily like smelling the waves, interacting with people. You're not really like
I
I
think
don't
it's a
know,
good
it's a
place to
different kind.
start, right? I think
Yeah,
it's a good place to start because,
yeah.
like, if you were doing this yourself, you'd be like, I
Hmm.
don't know, like, how, well, or do you know? Do you have like a framework for determining, like,
Yeah.
what's like
Hmm.
the location that I want to? I mean, I definitely agree that you need to like, go out there and like experience for yourself.
Hmm.
That's important, but it's a tool that helps you kind of like narrow down.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I've also asked it to like recommend me some cities in the Midwest,
Hmm.
like the middle part of America that would be interesting to like travel to.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's some interesting options it gave me. Like a
Okay.
lot of like smaller communities, small town communities that's like more chill.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of that movie Paper Towns.
Oh, I think I've
Probably
seen
didn't see
it.
it.
Yeah. I remember it being kind of sad. Yeah.
I
There
forget what
was,
happens, but I like the idea of going to like a little quiet town that's like not on a map.
right.
Was
Yeah.
it not on a map or was it on a map? No, it was not on a map.
Something like that.
Um, yeah, I don't know what the sad thing was. I think it was also a little sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope someone didn't die. That would be terrible.
I hope not too. Or actually, wait, I
Um,
think they might have paper synopsis. Spoiler alert.
I just remember Cara Delevingne was in it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, that's
Oh, okay. So basically, it's like two characters, boy and girl. They kind of collaborate together to like prank their friends who betrayed like the girl, and then the girl ends up disappearing, and then like they go on a journey to find the girl who
mm,
he fell in love with in the first place.
mhm.
Anyway, um
Anyways, I love a paper town.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No, I
we
feel like
love a paper town.
there are some towns I think in Rhode Island that are really nice. At least superficially. I don't know what it's like actually living there, but Bristol and Newport is also really great. There's also Newport Beach in Irvine, California.
I like the idea, yeah, of like a chill, relaxed town, like in the middle of nowhere, where it's like you can go and kind of like almost take like a little vacation. And all the better if the cost of living is lower than,
Absolutely. Yeah, which is
mm,
why I think a
so.
lot of people like tend to geo arbitrage and live abroad. Because you're right, like
Mhm.
because of dollar dominance and the reserve currency being the US dollar, it makes it really inconvenient to live and participate in the economy where the currency originated from. And you have this really huge power imbalance that, creates opportunity for expats. But yeah, I think,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
it I don't know. It irks me a little bit to kind of like move to a place where you aren't really heavily invested in the community. So I think that,
Well, you'll get invested. Like you just got to
yeah,
make some effort to like, to take
yeah,
that step.
right. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be completely like top down or bottom up. It can be a mix of both where,
Yeah.
yeah, like if I want to move to Germany, like I'll just take German classes there or
And I
like,
think, yeah, and I think part of it is like it's almost like flexing a muscle of like,
mhm,
getting to know a city, like making friends. It's like it's something that, requires a little bit of practice, a little bit of like honing one's skills.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely an art of its own. But yeah, I don't know. I have a strong belief that like, anyone can
mhm,
really integrate themselves into a community and find people that they like and, you know, I feel like it's not
mhm,
as inaccessible perhaps that we as we believe because I think
fair.
sometimes we're too familiar with, living in a particular place and it's like you may feel like it's difficult to like move and I mean that's also a thing too I think is like maybe maybe like age is part of it. Like the older you are, the more sort of set in your ways, and it's harder for you to like,
Yeah.
make that effort.
Hmm.
So it's good to like do it when you're younger and, more open to different sort of ways of living and
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
ideas as well.
for sure. All right. Well,
Anyways,
we've pretty much reached the end of this podcast. So thank you.
tell us what city you want to live in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What are your top sort of three, not just like vacation destinations, but like top three places to live in the world, anywhere
Yeah.
in the world, and then in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Be cool. I think it's like talk about like some interesting cities that a lot of people want to live in and just like, I don't know, Google them and get some insight on like what it's like to live there,
for sure.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay. All
All right.
right.
Well, thank
Well,
you
thank you
guys
for watching.
for watching,
Like
listening.
and subscribe,
Yeah.
and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. All right. Like, comment, subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.